Okay, shalom. We're going to be doing something very interesting that's very relevant for this time that we're living in right now. And that's, we're going to be looking at the prophecy against Gog and Magog, because there's a real battle going on. And I believe it's already begun, like a major battle that's going on for our minds right now. And we've got to be very guarded. We've got to guard our minds. We've got to be aware that some of the thoughts that are coming in are just purely from Satan. We've got to reject everything that's evil and only choose what's good. My advice at this time is dwell in the Word, dwell in Psalms. Focus your mind on good things. Set Yahweh before you always. Set Yahweh before me always, as King David said in Psalms. So this is the time that we're in now. And so I'm going to be focusing on this 38 and 39 chapters of Ezekiel. Me and Paul, we're just going to slowly work through it, see what we can draw out. It's quite complicated but simple at the same time. There's a lot of false prophecy interpretation regarding the concept of Gog and Magog. The truest, simplest understanding that I can give is that this force is a force of our war against our minds at this time, and it's certainly going to be. It represents in some way the force of the 70 gods of the nation. Gog and Magog, the numerical value of it, the gematria, is 70. That represents the 70 nations that come against Yasharel. Okay, so there's 70 gods of the nations, 70 powers and principalities that rule all the 70 nations that are outlined in the Bible, and every nation comes under a category of those, but it's all unrectified. It's all unrectified aspects of humanity. We are under the one true God, Yahweh, through his Son, the Mashiach of Yahweh. Yahshua, Yahusha, however you want to call his name, all would seem quite viable. But we're under his authority, and we need to stay under that dominion, because these are going to be very powerful influences, spiritual influences that can come in the form of thoughts and can really knock you off track. So we're just going to dive straight in anyway, but bear this in mind. Gog and Magog. Gog also, I believe this battle's going to take us, this battle of our minds, this real intensity is going to last until Sukkoth. It's just quite a way away yet. We've got to get to end of September, October time. We've only just had the summer solstice, really. We've got to get all the way through to the autumn, which is around 91 days. We've got around 91 days between. This is on the Jewish calendar. I should say the biblical calendar, the Hebrew calendar, the Torah-based calendar, rather. We've got about 91 days. So probably beneficial to be reading Psalm 91. This is the time when the destruction of the temple occurred. You've got what's biblically called the month of Tammuz. Then you've got the Av, where the spies happened. You've got have you got the first the red heifer?
Are you on about how we were going through the?
Oh no, I'm talking about. And there was the two temples destroyed. There was the sin of the spies.
Oh, no.
All kinds of things happened that were really very negative on the 9th of Av, for example. And this is in the summer time, and it's really because this is the time of the sun, but the sun represents Yahweh. Okay. The moon, to a certain degree, represents the name Adonai, the more physical name, the more earthly name, the more present name, the one that affects life on earth more. Yahweh is represented by the sun, but the whole concept of Yahweh to a certain degree is being held captive by Rome. The whole concept of the Messiah of Yahweh is being held captive by the powers that are Rome, and also which is basically the exile that we're in now. The head of the nations is Rome at this time. Spiritually, Persia's got a very big power also at this time. There is a unity between Edom and Persia that's got to be fulfilled, and it would appear that is what's happening right now. And we're under this influence, but the name of Yahweh really, because Yeshua has been, the concept of the Messiah of Yod-Heh-Wah has been kidnapped by Catholicism, who has its headquarters in Rome. To a certain degree, the name that he represents has also been kidnapped and enslaved, if you like, in Catholicism, in Rome. And that's why in summer you've got such power in the nations, because they have got, to a certain degree, they abuse and use the power of the name of Yahweh. They abuse and use the concept of the Messiah against Israel. That's why in the summer there is such power to the nations that they're able to tear down what's holy and all kinds of things like that. So we've got a force to defeat, and there's a lot of power for us spiritually in the chapters of Ezekiel 38 and 39. And these are what are read during Sukkoth, because that's the time when, in the cycle of reading, it's at the time when we talk about Gog and Magog, probably because we defeat that force come autumn, that power of the son of the nations that is overcome by the simplicity of the children of Israel dwelling in temporary dwellings and being joyous before Yahweh no matter what. So there's all kinds of things to take into consideration, and we're going to both speak now just reading through it. There's things that you find when you just start reading through. Okay, love?
And the word of Yahuwah came unto me, saying, Son of man, it's quite a address, set thy face against Gog mountain, the land of Magog, the land of the mountain, and the chief prince of Meshech, drawn out, and to bowl the prophecy against him.
Yeah, that is quite a statement that has been really misinterpreted, that Rosh has been seen as Russia. There are indications that these are connected to Greece. We're not just in a Roman exile. We're in a Greco-Roman mindset exile, if you like. I was thinking about this the other day because I was just at work and a little old lady that had studied the classics came in. She was a farmer, organic farmer, very old lady. She was talking away, and she said that she studied the classics, which is Latin and Greek. And I questioned her, and I says, she talked about the influence, and I says, which influence do you think has been most harmful? And anyway, she said, well, if the Greek influence came 500 years before the Latin influence, the Romans essentially adopted the entire pantheon of Greek gods and just changed the names, like Zeus to Jupiter and things like this. All the gods were changed to Roman names, Latin names. Latin didn't exist. Latin was is the daughter of Greece in a lot of ways. The Greek philosophy, the Greek pantheon of gods, was all adopted by Rome. And because they took over Rome. They defeated the Greeks and the Macedonians and things like that, and Rome took over in their stead. But there was a lot of adoption of Greek. So we're in a Greco-Roman exile. There's a lot of Greek exile, and Meshach, I do believe, is an ancestor, descendant of Greece, Yavan, Japheth. So they can go back to the Greek influence.
Japheth, yeah.
Japheth it comes from, doesn't it?
Yeah.
Okay, so there's a lot of influence, because in the West there has been a transition between Greek and Latin influence, and I was thinking about this.
It's actually a situation called Moshi, a people on the borders of Colchis and Armenia.
Mm-hmm.
So that'd be in the right place.
Mm-hmm.
Right direction.
Okay, so going back to this conversation, it made me think, because how was the Roman Empire born essentially out of the Greek Empire? And I was thinking about this in terms of a processing unit, with us being the processor. And in the Western world, or even in all the world now, we've got an education system. And this is the input that we've got. Education is what inputs into the children. And it goes into their little processing unit that is themselves, and it comes out a certain way. Now, if you look at the root of the word school, the root of the word pedagogy, the root of the word academia, what language are they? All. They're all, and synagogue, where you go learn, they're all Greek. So we've got this Greek influence coming in. This is our education system. It doesn't even matter if it's a synagogue. It's clear that the influence is Greek. To some degree, it's rooted in Greek philosophy, Greek mindset, Greek way of thinking. Even the Greek language is there. So we've got this Greek influence coming into our input machine. But the output, what is the output from this Greek academia, scholastic schools, synagogue, and pedagogy, all these things, all this influence coming into a young child and forming them until they get to adult? What's the output? The output in the West is Roman output, Latin output. So we think like Greeks but work like Romans.
It's even in Judaism, isn't it?
I'm saying it's in Judaism. I'm not excluding it. That's why it's a synagogue. And so I just asked the question in my soul. I says, what is the input unit that, our body is our temple. So if our body is our temple, our holy temple, we're getting Greek input. It's going into our temple, going into our mind, and it's coming out Roman. It's coming out the work that we do. We work very much like Romans still. We've got a Roman mindset when it comes to work. We're still building the Roman roads. We're still doing things like Romans, because Romans were good at doing things. I believe 100%, I've said it many times, I believe the reason why Yahweh chose to allow the concept of the Messiah to be hijacked by Rome is because there was a big job needed doing. And if you want, I used to listen to this lady whose father was a doctor. And her father used to say to her, and this is so true, this is such true wisdom. Her father was a doctor, like a GP, and he used to say to his daughter, if you want anything doing, ask a busy person. Because there's people who are busy that will get things done, and there's people who don't look like they've got a lot on, and they will stay looking like they've not got a lot on. So you want something doing, ask a busy person. Rome was a busy person. Rome got on with a job. Rome marched forth. Rome entered in. It took dominion. It got the job done. And by it doing that, it also carried with it the gospel, even though that is in a hijacked form, in a corrupted form, if you like. But they got on and did it. And through this power of Rome, the gospel got spread to the four corners, roads got built, communications got raised up, schools got built in the darkest corners of the four corners of the world. Rome went forth with this hidden light in and amongst it. People followed on the tails of the Roman army and went into the four corners of the world, spreading the gospel as they heard it, and fulfilling a lot of the work that needed to be done. But it was done in a very concealed way. It was done in a hidden way. So I'm believing 100% that Yahweh has used this exile for a great good, because I've been saved as a consequence of the work of people who have essentially got Greco-Roman mindsets when it comes to the gospel. They've made sure it's all printed. We've got it in every language possible, and all things like this. A lot to be praised, but there is a corruption in and amongst all that. There's a Greco-Roman corruption that we need to divest of. We need to take these filthy garments off and robe ourselves in pure linen. You know, for the final wedding, you got to be appropriately dressed. So what is our temple at this time if the output is Roman? If the input is Greek, a massive Greek influence, we've even got the New Testament written in Greek, so we can't escape the Greek influence. We've got an input of Greek, we've got a processing unit that is our body, our temple, our minds, and then we've got an output that's Rome. Okay, so what is the problem? What's wrong with that? Why is the input... Why have we not got an Hebrew? We should authentically, messianically, we should have a Hebrew input. We should have a holy temple body, and we should have a holy lashon holy output. We should have the output being works, thoughts, and deeds in the image of Yahweh, after the pattern of the Son of Yahweh, Yeshua HaMashiach. We should have an output that aligns to who he really was. A Torah-keeping, obedient, he was Jewish, a Torah-keeping, obedient, Yahweh-imitating example for us. Okay? We've got this Roman output though, we've got this corrupt output. And essentially I just asked, it was in my spirit, what is the input, what's the processing unit then that produces this? And the word that I got back was the synagogue of Satan. So don't think the synagogue of Satan is just for Jews. That's now for all of us. The synagogue of Satan really is unrectified flesh. If we've got uncircumcised flesh, uncircumcised body, uncircumcised heart, uncircumcised lips, uncircumcised understanding, uncircumcised fruits, and finally uncircumcised physical anatomy, we are going to some extent produce a Roman output. There may be a lot of Hebrew involved in that, there may be a lot of holy involved in that, there may be a lot of imitation of the name, but mingled in with all that will also be some kind of Greco-Roman output and influence in our thoughts, in our words, and in our deeds. And that's why we've got to circumcise ourselves. If we want messianic output, if we want Yahweh as our output, we've got to change the processing unit, the temple that is our body. We've got to align that body to the pattern of Yeshua. We've got to rebuild it in a way that's resurrected from the dead of our fallen flesh. We've got to renew ourselves. We've got to circumcise ourselves. We've got to humble ourselves. You know, and we need to do that more now than ever. We've got to take a hold. As Paul says, how do you call it, circumcising your flesh?
Saddle your ass.
You got to saddle your ass. It's time to saddle your ass. It's time to get up early, rise up early, saddle your ass, and get on with the job of circumcising our hearts, our lips, our ears, which is our understanding, our hearts, and our physicality, and the fruits that we do, i.e. our deeds, thoughts, words. We've got to circumcise our fruits, make sure they're not foreskinned. just as it says in the Bible, you can't eat from the tree for 3 years because it's still got a foreskin on it, and that's the word that is used, a foreskin. So we've got to make sure our fruits are mature, got to reach that place of maturity. We've got to remove the synagogue of Satan from within the uncircumcised flesh. It's going to produce a false gospel. It's going to produce a false Torah. It's going to produce false fruits, immature fruits, foreskinned fruits. We need to get to the end. Yeshua says something about, we just talked about the summer. Yeshua says something about when you see the leaves on the tree, you know summer's coming. So, summer's here now. There's possibly a very good reason why he said those words, to warn us in some way of the time that we're now entering into. This is a final battle as far as I'm concerned. We need to get this right, but we need to understand the process that we need to go through in order to succeed against these forces. These forces of Gog and Magog will try and create a synagogue of Satan that is our holy temple. It'll try and corrupt with the influence of Satan, which is fallen flesh, uncircumcised flesh. Satan gets a foothold in our life wherever we've got uncircumcised flesh. So, we've got to go through a circumcision process. You've got to take it very seriously, because if not, we're going to be a synagogue of Satan, and our output's going to be Latin. Rome. We're building Rome, the kingdom of Rome up. We're not building the kingdom of heaven up. We can't build the kingdom of heaven up when we're still building the roads for Rome. We've got to move and transition to building the kingdom of heaven up. The building of kingdom of heaven up, heaven is a name, it's a I can't remember what it's called now, but a euphemism, if you like, for the name of Yahweh. When Paul says heaven forbid, he's really saying Yahweh forbid. He's trying to protect the holy name in somewhere. So he says heaven forbid. Heaven is represented by Yahweh. Heaven is represented also by the Son. And this is why at this time, when the name of Yahweh is really in the dominion of Rome, we've got to get it back. We've got to stop being like the synagogue of Satan and start being the bait that is built for the name of Yahweh.
House.
The house that is built for the name of Yahweh.
And the word of Yahuwah came unto me, saying, Son of man. So who is the word talking to? Who is Yahuwah talking to? Son of man. I believe this is for us to know. Okay?
Can you just say what
not
word?
Just Ezekiel. This is verse 1 of chapter 38.
Right, okay.
Okay, Son of man, set thy face against Gog. Now, if you look at Gog, it says it means mountain. Okay? And mountains in the Bible refer to governments. Okay? The word mountain refers to governments. So, okay, so set thy face against the government and against the land of the government, Magog, not two different places. Gog, the land of Magog. Who has ever looked at Gog and Magog as two different places?
Yeah.
It's not. Not in this verse, anyhow.
Yeah.
The chief prince, so okay, son of man, set thy face against the government, the land of the government, the chief prince, Meshech, which means drawn out, and Tubal, which means to be brought, drawn out and brought, and prophesy against it. So these concepts are very new to me, because I've just looked at the meaning of the word, but words mean things, and names give you power over the thing.
Mm.
Adam was sent to name the animals, and Adam had power over the animals. Once you know the name, or the orientation of the name, it gives you an authority of understanding. Names mean things. And say, thus saith Adonai Yahuwah, behold, I'm against thee, O Gog. the chief prince of Meshech and Tubal. Behold, I'm against thee, O mountain, O government. The chief prince have been drawn out and been brought into place. All this new government affliction of AI and the global village, the world global village, has been brought upon us. It's been drawn out of the nation, and now it's been brought upon us. It really is descriptive of right where we are.
Yeah, the AI is a counterfeit. Who is the name? What is the name that speaks this?
Adonai Yahuwah.
Adonai Yahweh. We did a teaching on this. The initial letters of that are Aleph and Yod, A-I. There's a counterfeit. You've got to be in the right force. Yeshua's very first words in Luke 4, the first words that he stood up and spoke in the synagogue were to say from Isaiah 61:1. He stood up and he says, let me just find them. It says, and Yeshua returned in the power of the Spirit. He'd just been tempted by Satan. He'd just been baptized and he returned in the power of the Spirit. Which Spirit did he return in? To Galilee. And there went out a fame of him through all the region round about. And he taught in their synagogues, being glorified of all. And he came to Nazareth where he'd been brought up. And as his custom was, he went into the synagogue on the Shabbat day and stood up to read. And there was delivered unto him the book of Isaiah, Yeshayahu. And when he had opened the book, he found the place where it is written. So these are the very first words that he spoke that we've got reference to after he had defeated Satan in Satan's own territory, which is the desert. Satan's own territory, guess where it is now? It's Rome. The Spirit of Yahweh is upon me, but it's actually written in Isaiah, the Ruach Adonai Yahweh is upon me, because he hath anointed me to preach the Besorah to the poor. He hath sent me to heal the brokenhearted, to preach deliverance to the captives, and recovering of sight to the blind, and set liberty them that are bruised, to preach the acceptable year of Yahweh. It does actually go on in Isaiah 61. But there's very few places where you get this combination used. And in this chapter of Gog and Magog, you get only, but the majority of the name is represented by that name, Adonai Yahweh. So we've got to come in the power of the Spirit. What Spirit? The Ruach Adonai Yahweh, to overcome Gog and Magog. It's very clear who's speaking to Ezekiel is Adonai Yahweh. It's repeated again and again throughout chapters 38 and 39. So we've got to think, okay, so what's the power of the Spirit? To be like Yeshua. You've got to be, the same Spirit that's in him has got to be upon us to defeat these forces of Gog and Magog.
And the person speaking here is just named Gog. He's just named Gog, Meshach, Tubal and Magog, okay? But the conversation goes on and says, I will turn thee back and put hooks into thy jaws, and I will bring thee forth, Tubal, brought forth, and all thine army, horses, horsemen, and all them clothed with all sorts, a great company with bucklers, shields, and all of them handling swords. Who's going to do this? Yahuwah. Persia, Ethiopia, Libya, with them, all of them, with shield and helmet. Gomer and all his bands, the house of Togarmah, of the north quarter, and all his bands, and many people with thee. Be thou prepared. There you go.
Get ready.
Be thou prepared, and prepare for thyself, thou and all thy company that are assembled unto thee, and be a guard unto them. Wow.
That's Gog being a guard to all these nation influences that he's got some headship over.
After many days thou shalt be visited in the latter years. Thou shalt come into the land brought back from the sword, gathered out of many people against the mountains of Yashrael, or governments of Yashrael.
Yeah, and that word in the future is Ba'acharith Hashanim. Now, normally it's mentioned Acharit Hayamim, the end of days. Yet here it's called Ba'acharit Hashanim, the end of years. The end of years, not just the end of days, the end of years. What is the end of the year? When do we get the end of the year in Hebrew? Sukkoth. That's when the new year begins, because that's when the Shemitah year begins, the Yovel year begins.
Jubilee year.
The Jubilee year all begin in Tishrei, which is the end of the year. When are we told that occurs? It's got to occur at Tekufat, Hashanah, the turn of the year, and that Tekufat means it's related to the cycles of the sun, and it's related to, as far as me and Paul have been able to research this very, very deeply, it's related to the autumnal equinox.
But it doesn't start the year that we count by,
No,
because Moshe was
Yeah.
given instructions which would be the first month of the year,
And that is a bit.
and this is Aviv.
Yeah.
But the year ends in Sukkoth. Now you have to be able to hear Yahuwah and know his voice to get your mathematical, over-intelligent mind over and being able to listen to the word of Yahuwah without
Stumbling.
stumbling.
Yeah, this is a big stumbling block for a lot of people. The months begin to be counted in Aviv. The years begin to be counted in Tishrei.
Yeah.
It's as simple as that.
A revelation.
Yeah. So, but it's saying something here.
Yeah.
This has got to come at the end of the years. The end of the years is Tishrei. So I'm believing that we've got a battle on until we get to the end of the year.
We know Yeshua really
Sukkoth.
fulfilled the spring feast.
Yeah.
And the fall feast yet to be fulfilled. And I believe that they will actually be fulfilled, us being Mashiach. The body of Mashiach will fulfill the end feast and finally make Yahuwah's enemies his footstool, and he'll want to come and dwell with us. So it's a wonderful thing to be looking forward to, if you have the right mindset of who you are in Yahuwah. If you don't, it's a little bit of a worry.
We've got to take back summer. We've got to take back summer. Summer's in the dominion of Rome, Greece.
Well,
We've got Yeshua. Yeshua fulfilled the.
Look, I just want to say something, right? The earth has a curse of death upon it. It was through the sin of Adam, and it was going to grow weeds, it was going to grow things which were detrimental to the growth and prosperity of the earth itself. This is why the creation waits for the manifestation of the sons of Yahuwah, that they can break the curse on the earth. Yeah, so the earth...
Just wait a minute, love, yeah.
So the earth is not bringing forth as it should because of sin. Now when we remove sin, firstly from ourselves, yeah, and then we bring the promises of Yahuwah to the earth will be such a different place. It will be a new earth and a new heaven. Do you understand the place of change that we're really in? The magnitude of the place that we're living in. And I thank Yahuwah so much that he's revealing, unveiling, that we are actually entering into the Kodesh place with the revelation of his face, that we can know his desires completely, truthfully, confidently. Hallelujah.
Hallelujah.
Amen.
Yeah, going back to this whole concept of the summer, there's a time, it says in the spring, there's a time when once the harvests have been taken up, the kings go out to war. Now I always believed it was actually in autumn the kings go out to war, but apparently it's once that the harvests have been cut.
You got food for their army.
They've got to...
Food for their army.
Yeah, okay, so once the spring harvests have been harvested in, the barley and the wheat, apparently this is the time where the kings of the earth, of the nations, go out to war. So that would take us into the summer, where the wars occur in the summer. There's no festivals in the summer. The festivals occur in the spring, and then we get the festivals back. So there's a gap. And this is what I mean, this time, this 91 days of summer that we've got now. I think the Psalm 91, we need to get greatly protected spiritually, because it's not yet won back for Yahweh, but I believe this time can be, for those that are obedient to his name. The sun remains in the dominion of the nations, Rome, being that head of the nations, that Gog, if you like, that Rosh. So we've got this time where we have to do battle, and this is the time we've got to become like warriors with the word, and we've got to have the sword of truth in our mouth, and we've got to work on circumcising ourselves to make us more refined to overcome the forces of corrupt influence, the Gog and Magog forces, the 70 nations, the forces of the 70 nations, and really get to that place where we can dwell and abide at Sukkoth and all the holy festivals. We can reach that 7th holy month. We can reach the festival of the trumpets. The trumpets of our Yovel are blown for us. We can sanctify ourselves further on Yom Kippur. We can receive atonement for all the victories we didn't quite manage to secure for ourselves. And that victory to us comes through Yeshua HaMashiach. And also then we can rest and dwell in absolute joy with the King over kings of kings in the festival of Sukkoth. And so we've got something to look forward to, but in the meantime we've got a work to do, and that work would appear to be a battle. Want to carry on, love?
Did I finish verse 8? I'm not sure. And after many days thou shalt be visited. In the latter years thou shalt also come into the land, brought back from the sword, gathered out of many people against the mountains of Israel, which have been always waste.
Desolation.
But it is brought forth out of the nations, and they shall dwell safely, all of them. Thou shalt ascend and come like a storm. Thou shalt be like a cloud to cover the land, thou and thy bands and many people with thee.
You see, after Pesach and after Shavuot, you can reach a place of dwelling safely. This is the time when Gog and Magog's going to attack. When you're dwelling safely in your land, that's when these forces comes and gets you proper. You know, when you think you're at your most secure, guess who's going to try and pull the rug from under your feet? So again, we've got this, and it does mention it more than once, doesn't it? Again, we're going to go from verse 10. It's going to mention Adonai Yahweh.
Thus saith Adonai Yahuwah, it shall also come to pass at the same time, shall things come into thy mind, and thou shalt think an evil thought. Well, then isn't that like today, eh?
Yeah, this is why the Gog and Magog war is against your mind, because it's very clear. Adonai Yahweh, and it will be on the day that they will come upon you, Ya'alu, Devarim, thoughts, words, matters, al, into, levavecha, that is actually your heart.
Conceive.
Yeah, and you will devise choshvatah, Mechoshevat. You will devise thoughts that are evil.
Conceive
it starts
them.
in your heart. So what must you do? You must circumcise your heart. If you don't want these evil Gog and Magog thoughts in your heart, you need to circumcise your heart. This word, levavacha, the first bit, levava, heart. If you spell it backwards, it's bavel. Bavel. You see, your heart can be levavacha, forward, or your heart can be backward. Forward, you want in a name for Yahweh. Backward, you want in a name for yourself. That's uncircumcised heart. When you are doing things for the glorification of yourself, or you are doing things for the sake of the glory of his holy name, there's a difference. The Tower of Babel was built, it makes it very clear in Torah, so they could get a name for themselves. They could glorify themselves. They could have Yahweh at their beck and call. They could use the forces, spiritual forces, to get what they want for themselves, to create a name for themselves. Okay, so this is the war that we have to fight as well within ourselves. We've got to make sure that we're aligned to serve only Yahweh and nothing else beside him. No idols we've created out of our uncircumcised self. I listened to a teaching the other day and a rabbi said this, very important. All idols are really a mirror of ourselves. You've got unrectified emotions. You've got gods of sadness. You've got gods of, different feelings of gods, angry gods and things like that. And it's really just a mirror of our own unrectified fallen self. We've got to circumcise ourselves. There's a difference between unrectified flesh. You're going to create an idol of some sort. You're going to have another god before you. It's going to be created out of your uncircumcised, foreskinned heart, your foreskinned mind, your foreskinned lips. Got to get rid of that foreskin, and you're going to have a god before you that's only Yahweh and nothing else beside him. So we've got a process to go through in order to get to that place where we're free from this evil thought. I was alarmed to this battle by one thought coming into my mind. It just took one thought for me to wake up. One thought came into my mind that I realised, wow, that is so wicked. And I knew straight away what was going on, because I don't think evil thoughts. My mind is set on Yahweh. It took one thought to come into my mind to know we are in business now. We take up arms. If this thought came into my mind, I am fearful of what's going on in the world now. If one of these evil, wicked thoughts managed to get into my mind, and I entertained it very briefly, this wickedness, I allowed this thought to grow before I ripped the weed out and threw it out. I'm thinking, my goodness me, we need to fight hard now. Because thoughts of wickedness don't come into my mind. Any thoughts of violence, thoughts of anything wicked, bloodshed, murder, kidnap, nothing wicked comes into my mind. I don't imagine wicked stuff. So if I have ended up with a very wicked thought, what would make me fearful is that some people don't know to throw that thought out. Some people don't know to tear it up by its roots and get it the heck out of your mind quickly to know exactly where it's come from. No, they don't. They let it in. They let it grow a little bit, because there's something in it that comes. Growth is always satisfying. And before you've known it, the thought's in, the seed is planted, and then it starts growing.
The words come out. Once the words come out, you give the thought substance.
And since that time, I've been reading Gog and Magog daily, focusing, because it took one thought to come into my mind to know we're in business now.
Taking the thought, saying.
Yeah.
So it may have been conceived in your heart by an upset emotion, or a pressure, or an exertion of something forcing you, but you take the thought. But when you take the thought, you're still safe because you can throw it out. But once you say it, You give that thought power. You give it an existence that is harder to deal with.
Yeah.
Get rid of your thoughts before you speak them. The ones that you don't want, that is. Keep the good ones, otherwise you'll be mindless. But keep, the ones that don't belong, reject them before they come on your lips.
Any thought to do with violence, torture, kidnapping, sexual perversion, murder, hate, anger, anything at all like that is from Satan. You haven't got Yahweh before you
An
always.
evil tongue, just an evil tongue.
Just even a thought, love. It don't need to even come to your tongue. You can foster these thoughts within. You wouldn't even dare speak of the evil that the enemy is capable of planting in our minds, by the way. These forces are going to be working very powerfully. And I believe they're at work now. I've seen evidence in it. I've seen evidence of it. We need to set our minds back on Yahweh. We need to be aware of what forces are coming against us. We need to get to the end, and we need to make sure we do not become a habitation for these demonic thoughts, not even one. Not even one. You've got to just set your mind on Yahweh. Set Yahweh before you always. And if you feel like you've been corrupted in any way by this demonic force, and I believe people will be, without even knowing the subtlety of it, it just drops the seed in and it can rapidly grow. Okay, so you got to be very vigilant at this time over your mind. And if you have succumbed in any way to evil thoughts and charity and good deeds, turn from evil and do good. And charity is the best good that you can do.
The example's right here. Into thy mind, and thou shalt think an evil thought. Straight after that it says, and thou shalt say. The evil thought comes in, and thou shalt say.
Yeah, Liz, just wait a minute, love. We might have just missed a bit then. Carry on. Just go back to verse 10. Read it all through thoroughly.
Thus saith Yahuwah, thus saith Adonai Yahuwah, it shall come to pass, at the same time shall things come into thy mind, and thou shalt think an evil thought, and thou shalt say. The evil thought comes into your mind, and then you say, you give it basis. I will go up to the land of unwalled villages.
Unwalled villages.
I will go to them that are at rest, that dwell safely, all of them dwelling without walls and having neither bars nor gates. To take a spoil and to take a prey, to burn thy hand upon the desolate places. Mm-hmm. To turn thy hand upon desolate places. Inhabited, and upon people gathered out of the nations which have gotten cattle, goods, that dwell in the midst of the land.
Yeah, can we just stop there for today, lovey? Because I think that's giving a lot of people, just expand on that two together. Evil thoughts and then
say
invasion.
Yeah.
Invasion. Who gets invaded? Guess what? The ones dwelling in the land safely and securely. They've got all the little goods now, feeling all content about themselves. This can be talking about us personally.
Yeah.
You know? Our body is the land of Israel. Our body is the temple in Jerusalem. We've got to make sure that we're not letting it in. And especially when we get to those places where we think we're dwelling safely. Oh yeah, we don't need to guard ourselves anymore. Look, everything's going all well. Don't need to guard ourselves anymore. Don't need to put gates up. Don't need to put walls up anymore. We've got this one. We dwell in securely. It's all right then. No, that's exactly when Gog and Magog invade. When you think you've got it all, and really you've just got an open gate to these forces coming in. So stay guarded, stay vigilant, stay walled, stay gated, but still stay secure and safely. The only place of safety that we've got is in the name. The only true place of dwelling safely is in the name of Yahweh. You know, like I say this all the time, Yeshua says, I kept them in thy name. I manifested thy name. He revealed thy name to us. The name of Yahweh. So that's the only safe place that we've got to dwell. We've got only safe places within the name. Anywhere else is an illusion of safety. So return back to the name, align yourself and center yourself upon the name. If you've become prey to this evil force, repent, return back to Yahweh. Just simply turn from it. Don't dwell on it. Don't rehearse the curse. Return back to facing Yahweh face to face and receive your influence straight from his face of loving kindness. Think like him, speak like him, and do like him. And with that, I'll say shalom.
Shalom.